got a message one day on Instagram from Ed Campos. He's a good friend of mine in Atlanta. We have a lot of mutual friends together here in Atlanta. And he sent me a message and he said, "Hey, Alex, did you ever hear about this story? It just happened last week." So I clicked the link and it took me to this story. The story follows as a gentleman got a phone call while he was staying in a hotel. He was upstairs in his room, and what happened, it was Tesla calling. He's like, "Okay, that's weird. Why is Tesla calling me?" They're like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, we're fine." He's like, "We just got a report that your car was in an accident." He's like, "Well, that's strange. I'm sitting here with my wife and kids. We're in the hotel room. We've been in here. It's now 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. We've been in here since 6 p.m. and we haven't left." Well, they said, "We got an alert there was an accident. We just wanted to make sure you guys were okay. But if you valet your car, I'd suggest you go downstairs and check on your vehicle." So, of course, the guy goes downstairs, and surprisingly, the lobby was pretty empty. So he went around again, and he checked out for the valet section, and the valet stand was empty. He's like, "Oh, okay, that's strange." So he saw blue flashing lights, so he walked out to the street, looks to the right, and he can tell his car had now been totaled. So he runs down there, and of course, this is what he sees. The valet standing outside of the car, he's perfectly fine. Nothing really happened considering the severity of the accident, and essentially this Tesla is now totaled. What happened? He parked at 6 o'clock, but at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, the valets decided to go joyriding in his car. Now, you know, I've spoken about joyriding before, and I've even admitted that I've taken a car out on a joyride myself. Now, not to the point where I'm hot rodding the car. I just wanted to drive it and see if it was really something that I liked, and that was the Acura NSX, which I did later buy probably a few years later. Now, it's wrong. It shouldn't happen. If any of my valets are watching, I'm telling do not joyride, because I'll find out you will be fired immediately if you go off the parking lot. Because what I didn't know at the time, when you leave the parking lot, our insurance personally only covers a certain parameter. So maybe 1,000 feet, or that's like a quarter of a mile or something off of the main parking lot that we insure. So if we're a mile or 2 miles away, our insurance really isn't going to cover. So what's going to happen? The person's insurance is going to cover it, and they're going to come back and sue the valet company, which causes all kind of messes. So I'm telling people, do not joyride. It does happen, but this valet went out in this Tesla and crashed it. It wasn't our company, but another company. So everybody comes in, and I think this article was on Reddit. So Reddit, everybody's like, "Oh, sue the company, sue them. You're going to get a whole new car and all that." And you know what? You're right. You will get a new car. This is what happens. You will get a new car because this car was totaled beyond repair. The valet company is 100% responsible for it and will take care of it. At the very moment, what we would do if I was the manager on duty, we have to now get these people into a rental car. Now, unfortunately, we cannot get them into a Tesla rental car because chances are they don't rent Teslas like that. So we have to get them into a rental car. And if it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, the only places open to rent a car like that are generally the airport. Now, what sucks about the airport, it's a whole long entire process, and the rates are usually a lot higher at the airport, but this is what we need to do for that customer. Now, are we responsible for paying for their hotel room? Not really, because we didn't really disturb that. But I would tell you any valet company would be remiss if they didn't, at least out of courtesy, pay for their hotel room stay for that time. Now, is anything else? Is it more compensatory? Is there more punitive damages that we can pay? Generally speaking, no, that's not going to happen. Everybody wants to get better than they were before, but in the eyes of the law, you have to look at things kind of like this. We have to put you back in a position that you were before the accident claimed happened. We can't put you in a better position than you were because of this incident happening. Now, did this cause you pain and suffering? Yes, of course it did. I mean, it would cause me pain and suffering as a manager, but that, again, that's not compensatory damages. You can't get paid for that. But punitive damages, without getting too legal into all of this, punitives are basically preventing that valet from ever doing that again. And what you pretty much do, you fire the valet, we knowing that that will never happen again in that situation. So generally speaking, what happens with the Tesla owner, he gets replaced his car and maybe the hotel room and maybe some gift certificates or something like that. But beyond that, yes, I'm very apologetic for that. This was a stupid valet that did this stupid incident. And remember back to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and there's my license plate right there. Valets are known to joyride, and it has to stop. So how is that stopping? All 2020, 21 cars, a lot of these cars now are hooked up with video technology. Tesla is not the only one. Remember years ago, Corvette did the same thing. Corvette now had a valet mode. And what that means, you hit this button before you give it to the valet. And A, it limits how fast, I think at the max 70 miles per hour, which is way too much. I think it should only be capped at 50. Number two, you can't burn out. So the accelerator, you can only like kind of roll into the throttle. You can't really gun it and peel out or anything like that. Number three, they lock the glove box. They lock the trunk if it's not a pop through or anything like that. And then they video the entire experience. Also what they do, they let you know how high the RPMs go. They also let you know, how high the RPMs go. And they also let you know, what time the engine shuts off and what time you lock the doors. So Corvette does it. Actually, Volvo does it. So Volvo does it where you can shut off the key, lock the car, and it sends a signal to the person's cell phone. So now with all these cars with GPS-enabled technology embedded into the cars, it now ties into the valet section, and we can now limit how fast these cars go. Remember back in the day, Bugatti had two keys. One key was for 500 horsepower. The second key that you put down here unlocked the additional 500 horsepower. So you were never driving with 1,000 horsepower. You were only driving with 500 horsepower. So again, that was a safety feature too that they put into effect. Now, this is the part that gets me. With valets knowing this technology is out there, this happened again. There was a case that happened in San Antonio where a valet, which happened to know a lot about Teslas, knew there was a new mode called Cheetah mode. Cheetah mode is actually faster than Ludicrous mode. Cheetah mode actually made the car kind of tip his nose down, jack up the front, and be more aerodynamic. It was even faster than a Ludicrous mode. So what this stupid valet, and I can honestly say in this particular case, he made a U-turn, came back, and he was throttling it through the parking lot. And this parking lot was flying through this parking lot more than you can tell. And on top of that, there was a left turn, not a left turn, but a left bank. And essentially what happened, this Tesla understeered, which means when he was trying to turn the wheel, the car kept wanting to go straight, and he went over the parking blocks, over the median, and back over. Looking at the damage, it doesn't look that bad, but this car was actually totaled out itself. So this valet was stupid to even assume, even if he didn't hit anything, that the customer wasn't going to know that he was speeding the car through a parking lot. So we found out later that the guy was going close to, I think it was on the first case, over 100 miles per hour when that first Tesla crashed. This one, I think he only got up to 50 or 60 miles per hour in a parking lot, which is still a lot. Now, usually I'm not a big Tesla fan because, for many reasons we can get into in another episode, but to show how this car went through the abuse that you just saw right now and it ended up like this, that wasn't bad. But it turns out there was a lot of internal damage with the batteries. There was a lot of damage underneath with the suspension, not to mention some of the body panels that came off. So the valet company and the hotel did replace this car, no questions asked. Now, the final story is one of my favorites, even though it's actually horrible, and we use this story in orientation with our company. Now, what happened, this valet in Miami thought it would be cool to take out this Lamborghini Aventador and drive it down Collins Avenue. Well, not only is he driving down Collins Avenue and one of the other side streets, he starts revving it up, and he's revving it up a lot. Now, what he doesn't realize, and a lot of people didn't realize, Lamborghini started making a lot of the back bumper pieces with plastic. And what happens when you heat up plastic? That's right, it catches on fire. So the back of this Aventador starts catching on fire, and this valet was sitting in the seat so low he could not tell that the car was on fire. So cars behind him are honking a horn, honking a horn. He gets out of the car, he looks, he's like, oh my God. The Lamborghini Aventador is now on fire. So how cool is that? That's not cool at all. It's actually pretty hot. So one of the people came out of the businesses with a fire extinguisher and put the flames out. But yeah, needless to say, this valet got fired and they had to replace a $400,000 Lamborghini Aventador because this idiot thought it would be cool to drive up and down Miami Beach, revving up the engine as if it was his. Now, the funniest part, and this is the part we like to share in our orientation, he still has his valet shirt on. As you can see, his hands are in the air. He's like, oh my God, what did I do? But this is what happens. So a lot of people see, hey, Alex, you're lucky you have a valet company. You're making pretty good money and all this. Those are the nightmares I cringe about at night. So please, do not joyride if you're a valet. It's one of the worst things to do. I admitted I did it, but I could say I was a little bit more responsible. But do not do it. It will turn into a nightmare. So have a good night. Have a good day. I'll see you next time.